So you've decided to start a podcast, but you're not sure what equipment is actually worth investing in and what equipment is an overkill for a beginner. Today, I am going to give you the ultimate at-home podcast setup, showing you the exact equipment that is 100% worth it as a beginner, and then what equipment absolutely just isn't worth it. And if you stay to the end, I'll be showing you how to take your podcast from looking like this to this. Hey, I'm Sophie. I'm a podcast producer, studio owner, and coach to chart-topping podcasters. And if you haven't already, download my beginner's guide to successfully launching your show below. Okay, first up for the ultimate at-home podcast setup, let's talk microphones. 1, 2. Can we get a test? 1, 2. This is the Rode NT USB condenser USB microphone. It's 199 Australian dollars, and you can get it from literally anywhere. Most good places sell it. I'll put the links down for absolutely everything I mention below, so you can just go click, bang, we're starting a podcast kind of energy. So Rode is the most reliable brand when it comes to audio. Put it this way, every single successful podcaster you know probably has Rode. It's what I've decked out my whole entire professional studio with, and it's a brand I trust, and it's a brand I suggest that you invest in. This whole video is so budget friendly, but the one thing that I do not think that you should skimp out on and go cheap on is the microphone. Because at the end of the day, podcasts are an audio first platform. As much as there's a rise in video, you need to be ensuring that your listeners are having a really good quality experience when they are listening into your podcast. All right, so just for reference, this is me recording from the mic in the camera. This right now is the microphone through my iPhone. And this right now is the sound of the microphone through the podcast mic I told you to get. So you can hear 3 different kinds of quality of sound, and you be the judge. Tell me I'm wrong. Okay, so the next element of your ultimate at-home podcast setup is a laptop or computer. So I get asked all the time whether it's worth purchasing an audio interface when you're starting out as a podcaster, and my answer is no. You've likely never used an audio interface before, and therefore it's just gonna add so much extra drama to your podcast process, and you want to avoid, creating barriers for yourself when you're first starting out. And to be honest, the online recording studios that I'm going to talk about in a second are really good quality, and they're user-friendly, and I think don't make it more complicated when you first start out. It's something you can look at investing in later, but at the beginning, I just think put the money that you would invest in an audio interface into the mic and would be happy days. All right, so there's 2 online recording studios that I would recommend. Both need to be run off Google Chrome, so just keep that in mind. Number 1 is Zencaster, and number 2 is Riverside FM. If you've done any amount of research into podcasting, you would have probably seen those 2 names pop up, and there is for a good reason. They have pretty much created a really ear-to-the-ground product where you can just sign in, record solo episodes, dial in to have remote recordings with guests. Everything is there for you to use, and most of them have integrations with editing software and things like that. Okay, so the next thing for your ultimate at-home podcast setup is a ring light. So when you are recording video, which I highly, highly suggest you do, at least move up to, you want the best quality video that you can possibly get, and the built-in webcams on your computer are good enough for when you first start, but with extra lighting, it just lifts the quality so much better. So I'll put a version of me with a ring light and me without a ring light, and you can actually see it's just a far higher quality production. So it depends on where you're recording. If you're in quite a dark room and you don't have any access to natural light, then you might need to maybe invest in a couple or get a higher quality one. I'll list them all in the description below. Once you've invested in the ring light, then as I said, you can use the webcam on your computer, or if you want, you can use your iPhone. If you've got a relatively new iPhone, the camera on there is pretty good, and you can literally just slot it into the ring light and it will work a charm. Okay, so when you actually launch your podcast and figure out, wow, I'm not so bad at this whole podcasting thing, I'm gonna make it. This is when I suggest investing into a camera. I highly suggest the Sony ZV-1. It's what I'm filming on right now, and you can see it's got quite a high quality image. The resolution is good comparatively to the webcam. The Sony ZV-1 is $999 at the moment. Again, link down below. And that might be a bit out of people's price range at the beginning, and that's totally fine. But from my expert opinion, I think it's so worth it. This camera is the one that I use in my professional studio, and I'll show some of the snippets that we're able to create with it. So it's a really high quality camera. I definitely vouch for it. If you aren't in a position to lay out the funds for a camera this bloody good, then that's totally fine. What I would suggest that you do is invest in more ring lights. So lighting really lifts the quality of your video, and it's inexpensive. Like I said, $29 for a ring light. You can get a few and really lift that quality. And film on your phone, super easy. Okay, now that you have this set up, it is time to get your podcast out there. If you have not already checked out my video about what hosting platform to use, I compare Buzzsprout and Anchor, which are two of the most popular platforms for your podcast. Go and check that out and get it out there. Come and find me on Instagram, subscribe to my channel, and let's actually go.